We have been following on the proceedings at the Supreme Court, and we are beginning on that point. Our court reporters are on standby to give us an update or break down the day's proceedings for us. Good afternoon, Sarafina.
Indeed, a very good afternoon, Nisi Okoth. As you've mentioned, we're coming to you live from the Milimani Law Courts, whereby we are following up on the Supreme Court sitting, whereby they're getting to hear the presidential election petition that was filed by Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua, alongside the other petitioners who were consolidated to about seven petitions were consolidated and two struck out. And today being the second day, we've gotten to see a number of respondents who have been able to give their submissions represented by their lawyers. And as of this morning, we're able to see the IEBC lawyers as well as the chair of the IEBC lawyers representing or giving submissions in court. And just to take you through some of the submissions that were given today by the lawyers, one was by Professor Githu Muigai, who was the then Attorney General, who is now representing the IEBC. Key to know that is that in 2017, he was the amicus curiae in the presidential petition that was filed back then, but this time he is appearing for the IEBC. And some of the questions that emerged from his submission is that the first thing that he was able to mention or to question was that some of the lawyers who are actually in this presidential election petition are people who have been elected through the same process that are saying that is flawed, getting to mention some of the governors, including the Siaya Governor James Orengo, some of the senators, including Busia Senator Okiya Omtata, Professor Tom Ojenda. So he got just to ask them that how are you questioning that the whole electoral process was flawed? Yes, you agree to having been elected into your rightful positions of governors, senators, as well as members of parliament. The other thing that also came out was that he got to question about, or got to say about the reports written by the observers who were observing the just concluded general election, saying that they got to say that the process was one of the fairest processes ever observed in the Kenyan election since the 2010 promulgation of the 2010 constitution. The other issue that he got to talk about was about that there's no evidence in regards to allegations that have been raised by the petitioners, getting to say that some of the allegations get to even reach into the matter or position of treason, yet there is no evidence in support of this. He also pointed out the vilification that has been put upon the chair of the IEBC of the IEBC, who is Wafula Chebukati, saying that what is being pointed to him is a witch hunt, and says that now this is good that the Constitution gets to protect his tenure in office against the vilification from the petitioners. He also got to say that to just understand, to make people or the court understand about the commission and its function, and getting to point out Articles 138(3)(c) and Article 138(10) as indicated on the functions of the commission and what is mandated of the chair of the IEBC Commission. Just concluding his submissions, he got to say that the right thing in this was that the right thing in all that happened on the 15th of August during the declaration of the presidential results was not based on the majority of commissioners, but the conscience of the people who were declaring whether what they were declaring was right or wrong. The other lawyer who we got to see, who got to come and give his submissions, was Kamau Karori, who was also in support of some of the submissions that were given by Githu Muigai, getting to expound more on the establishment of the commission under Article 250 of the Constitution, and also Article 138(3)(c) and Article 138(10), getting to say that the allegations are put on the chair of the IEBC, saying that he styled the position of being the chair or the presidential returning officer isn't true, because this is provided for in regards to his mandate as indicated under Article 138(10) of the Constitution, which then gives him the power to declare the results found in regards to the presidential election results. They also got to take us through the 27 constituencies that were disputed, saying that they were not verified nor tallied, nor declared at the National Tallying Center, getting to say that this happened, or the reason as to why this was not declared at the National Tallying Center was because of the chaos that were caused by representatives of the said Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, and therefore this is what led to the 27 constituencies not being allowed or not being declared. And also getting to point out on one of the allegations whereby they were saying as of yesterday the petitioners were calling on the court to get to declare Regulation 87 of the Election Act as unconstitutional, since it is inconsistent with the Constitution. Therefore, the lawyers got to say that this does not sit well, given that these regulations have never been disputed since they were promulgated in 2017, and therefore since they were in position during the 15th of August as the results were being declared, then it will be wrong for the court to get to declare it unconstitutional just because they do not agree with the results. The other lawyer that we got to see represent or give his submissions was Eric Gumbo, representing the IEBC, who now got to delve further into Forms 34A that were being brought from the polling center to the National Tallying Center, whereby it got to explain and say all the security features that were attached into the Forms 34A, saying that it had about 8 security features, and also that the whole process that happened in regards to transmission of the forms that were being taken photos and later on transmitted to the National Tallying Center before they were verified with the physical form, saying that the whole process was 99.99 success. The success rate was 99.99%, and also got to tell the court that the transmission was encrypted. So the allegations of saying that there was a way one could download the forms, interfere with them, and then upload them was not possible, since the whole process of the RTC was encrypted. He also got to rely on affidavits by Hilda Kavongo, who is an ICT expert, and he got to say that according to the affidavits that there was no interference in regards to the system. And also they got to point out some of the affidavits that had been brought to the court by Githongo, who they got to say that the affidavits that Githongo brought to the court were actually logs of 2017, so they were not genuine, and that they had about 9 inconsistencies in regards to what was presented in court. Out of that, what they got to point out from the logs is that the serialized part of the forms or of the logs had names, and this is a thing that was being used during the 2017 general elections and not the 2022 general elections. They also got to point out that one of the evidences that was mentioned yesterday in regards to a returning officer called Asenge, saying that the returning officer was actually a returning officer during the 2017 general elections and not the 2022 general elections. He also got to mention out the affidavit by Justice Nyangai, who is one of the commissioners, the dissenting commissioners of the IEBC, saying that the logs that he represented had nothing to do with the transmission of the results of the 2022 general presidential election results, but rather these were just normal applications of how the system was running. And some of the people who were mentioned, including an officer of the IEBC called Dahir, saying Dahir was actually gazetted and therefore had access to access the system. And as it was mentioned, then it was not true that he illegally accessed the system. The other lawyer that we got to see now give an audit trial of the whole system, one of the key factors that played out in this, he got to mention some of the allegations that were put out by Raila Odinga's running mate Martha Karua, getting to say that the variances that were experienced in Kirinyaga there were about 25,000 votes, and say this is very wrong, and according to what they got to tally and or according to the audit trial done by the IEBC is just about 900 votes, and also getting to say that some of this could be attributed to stray votes, and also mentioning that they should take into notice that that county has about 2 prisons who are only allowed to their whereby just vote for the presidential position, and who also got to just go through the whole RTS system, dismantling everything that was said yesterday in regards to how interference was done by some of the officers of the IEBC as well as the Venezuelans, saying that the RTS process was very seamless. And one of the allegations that was mentioned about the conversion of the CSV to a PDF form instead of actually uploading a JPEG picture taken by the presiding officer was wrong, because that is not even factual. And if he got to say that if then that's possible, they would like to get a patent of the instrument that was used to actually download the forms, convert them from CSV into PDF, and then get to upload them. And then we also got to see that the other lawyer that representing the IBC, Abdikadir Mohammed, who was trying to just show on burden of proof, whereby he got to mention of the key things that he got to mention out of this was the interference of the DCI in the whole process of the verification and tallying, whereby he even got to point out that there was presence of ATPU, Anti-Terror Police Unit, at the National Tallying Center, just questioning why they were deployed to that particular place, and mentioning that the DCI was one of the main key impediments in this process. They were also expected to give submissions on the KPMG report, but this did not happen. However, they got now to submit or to give back 13 minutes to the court, and meaning now that they've already completed their submissions. And the next respondent that we expect now to come to the floor of the court of the Supreme Court to get to give submissions is William Ruto and his running mate, who is Rigathi Gachagua, when the court comes back to session at 2 p.m.